Good morning, everybody. It's Ace Trades for Friday, April 17th. I think it's 17th. Yeah. The Bible says in the book of Romans, chapter 4, verse 2, "For if Abraham were justified by works, he hath whereof to glory, but not before God. For what saith the Scripture? Abraham believed God, and it was counted unto him for righteousness," referring to Genesis 15:6. Verse 4 says, "Now to him that worketh is the reward not reckoned of grace, but of debt. But to him that worketh not, but believeth on him that justifieth the ungodly, his faith is counted for righteousness." So I would ask, are you stuck in some sort of religious system that is works based? Because God doesn't allow works in his program because he doesn't want man to glory in his works for his justification. So it's only by faith that we're saved through the blood of Jesus Christ. So I pray you think about that today. On the chart, I just basically I don't have an overnight. I guess you could put an overnight low if you want to. I don't even know if this will. We'll just put it on there. Just right. There's not really an overnight high. You're basically in this big uptrend, which can be hard to see on the 2000 tick chart. So, like I say, sometimes these bigger structures are easy to see. I mean, you can see pretty clearly that that's all one trend. Here's your break, and like I say, these come in all forms and fashions, and it's trying here to push up. Um, Looks like this has maybe found some support in this area. So you may be launching up here off this after you have basically a break, which is a downtrend, and then it actually technically makes a new low. So you could be heading higher here. Now, today may be kind of a difficult day to find smaller picture trades that we like to take. Um, Yesterday was a better day because it was more in like a compact area. But this, you're dealing with a very big structure now. So you've got 78 to 48. You got a 70-point trend, and you can see how you looking at these technical moves. This is not reliable here on a trend this big. This little two-legged jog here means like nothing. This is more of like the entire correction. So it might be difficult to find trades today. Not that it's been easy this week, but just from a structural standpoint, um, the normal little corrections you're looking for may not be as reliable because the structure you're dealing with is much larger. So the corrections on with relative to the structure are going to be bigger. So hopefully maybe this volume calms down. Maybe, this is just a temporary thing and we get into, um, maybe a range or something that we can deal with where you're able to find better entries or, more reliable relative to the size of the move you're dealing with. So anyway, just all that is a precursor for today may be a difficult day and these tiny little entries we're looking for, excuse me. Now, if this were like a trend, um, then you might be looking for something here, but it's this. This is the whole trend. So hopefully you understand what I'm saying when I'm talking about bigger picture price action. You're dealing with a very large trend, so little swings like this don't really matter so much in the grand scheme of this trend. This two little legs down here is really nothing. So that's what I was saying. What I mean when I talk about hopefully we get some smaller picture price action. We're dealing with smaller structures that you can follow. Anyway, that's a long intro for today, so we'll come back later. Okay, so we can see now this uptrend off this strange break has pushed up to a new high. This is so strong when you look at it on this higher time frame that you might expect that this will push up to a measured move, which is around 71.90. So, there's 40 more points left in that. It's just probably going to be difficult to find an entry um, to get in on that unless maybe you're going to look at a higher time frame and it'll give you something perhaps. But to look at it on 2000 where I normally trade, you can just see this. You're just getting a bunch of bars overlapping and pushing higher. So the volume is such that it's creating a lot of bars on this chart, but it's not giving you a lot of um, guidance as to where those swings are. You can just see on here, there's a lot of different areas where maybe something looked like a swing and ended up not being one. Um, so, you might draw a trend up here like this, but I think it's gonna be hard to find a pure trade on this time frame the way prices are printing right now. You might get a better. You can see how you're getting more kind of cleaner price action on the higher time frame, and that's just because it's moving. The structure that you're dealing with is bigger, so the smaller time frames are going to look. It's going to look strange on them. It'd be just like if we change this time frame and we made it even smaller. I mean, how? Let's look at it on thousand tick. I have that because sometimes I trade that when price gets really sluggish and you're having trouble finding trades on the 2000. You can see how ridiculous this is to try to figure something out on the 1000 because bars are just printing so fast. I mean, this looks like something here, but this move to me looks like it's played out, and you can just see you're getting just a bunch of overlapping tiny little bars that are just gradually moving higher. And that's kind of what you're getting here on the 2000. It's just not as bad. So, sometimes you either don't trade or you're basically going to have to look at a higher time frame unless the volume calms down and the way that prices are moving in the structure, gets smaller. All right, so here on a 2000 tick, here we are. We pushed up. You end up getting these two legs down that end up testing the overnight, or not overnight, but the trend high. What's going on? Okay, so I'll have to refresh my chart because there shouldn't be a gap there. Anyway, um, if this came down here and we finished with a nice bull bar down in this area, that might be something you entertain. I'm not going to go long way up here after this thing closes and you're in for like 6 points of risk. You're real close to the highs. I'm just not going to do that. I mean, this could still flip around here and do some kind of temporary correction because this massive trend is technically played out, although it's very strong. So there's a chance that you'll end up here. Let's flip over to been switching this around to see if I can find something that looks palatable for trading. But I switched this to 5,000. Sometimes I have it. Excuse me, it's 6. Sometimes at 4. But you can see even on here. Seems like this is going to be a long video today. Um, we come back and test this and then push. It looks like we're pushing off of it, but I don't want to go long there right into highs. So this may be testing this, and now, maybe you're getting a second, this whole move, maybe you're getting a second launch leg off of here, which would get you in the vicinity of that measured move. But it's just very difficult right now to trade with this type of larger picture price action. So um, yeah, that's it for now. All right, so off this two-legged push that tried to test that first that trend high, we've kind of launched off there. Um, I like this trend line so far, so I'm watching this trend line, see if we can maybe get a correction for an entry. Okay, I adjusted this trend line slightly. You can see how we get a couple small pushes out because it still fits very well on the higher time frame. So it it appeared the way I had it drawn appeared to start overshooting, but I think we're still good here on this trend line because it's still, if we look over here, still fits really good on the 5,000 tick. So I'm okay with that trend line having small couple pushes out way down here. All right, so you can see how we're still holding this trend line very well. We just basically went sideways here and pushed off of it. So still watching it. So we get a break of this uptrend here, and I was kind of looking for. I mean, it would get very kind of large from a retracement standpoint, but you're still well within um, a, a reasonable phase of correction. So I had this leg drawn, and at the minimum, I was looking to enter something that would come down here. Although this whole leg from here to here might be a leg, it just doesn't do that. You get pushed down, it pushes up, and then kind of this move down kind of retests this level, and then you get this bar, but it's right into the EMA and it's right into this trend line that you can draw. So I'm not going to take that. And finally, you push up. I was thinking maybe I go with a higher low. I'm expecting now this to move up, and for some reason we hit this level and just a ton of volume comes in and pushes down with this big red bar. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on now. So I'm probably not going to enter anything until something else develops, because the hope of getting on a correction in this within this trend or on a break, it's really kind of foggy now what prices are going to do. Uh, okay, so I think at this point, I think I'm done looking for longs for the moment. I'm not exactly sure. We're getting every time we try to push up, we're pushing down. I got a couple legs here, but I'm really not sure because it's so choppy throughout there. It's not like one leg push up, second leg. I'm really not sure if these mean anything. So I'm just gonna sit and watch here and see if maybe this is starting to roll over a little bit and we get a structure that starts to develop to the downside. Or maybe this is a correction that, some sort of correction that's just taking a while to play out, and then we start pushing up. So I just have to wait and see what prices want to do, because it's really, with this choppiness, it's really uncertain. Kind of hesitant on shorts because it's so bullish today, and I was expecting a retest for this uptrend, but you don't want to take your longs either because you just keep making lower highs here as you're pushing down. So it's just a sit and wait type of area right now. All right, so it looks like we pushed up here, and these we actually do off this push down. You end up in a roundabout way getting down, second measured leg down, which stops here. It's just difficult to read through all this chop. And then you get this trend, but you have to be careful about this trend because this trend up it's the retest for this trend. So you can see this makes basically like a technical new high by one tick. So, you don't want to you got to be real careful about taking a second attempt here for, like, if this breaks like it did. So you get this basically one leg down, one push up, second leg down. And, if anybody would have tried to enter there, they'd have got stopped out on that. It is real close to the high anyway, so that kind of disqualifies it in my book to begin with, because it's just too close to the highs to be looking for an entry. You always want room to the highs, but now this has played out. And sometimes, on these smaller picture price action channels that you're watching stuff, that they don't really pay attention to this. This is so spread out, they don't really see this sort of thing. But that's just what's happening here. Is this trend played out with this push up, um, and now it's attempting to reverse. I mean, it's so bullish today, it may not. Maybe you'll get into, maybe this thing even turns into some sort of range here, somewhere. No clear bottom here or anything, but um, yeah. So anyway, you got to be careful on these to know that these are retest channels. And I'm not saying that won't work sometimes. Sometimes it will. Sometimes it won't. But uh, it's less of a probability than when you get something clean off the break of this initial trend. All right, just a quick update here. So this trend, ends up pushing up. It's again, like I said at the beginning of the day, because you're in a massive structure that you're dealing with, it's very difficult to tell on this smaller time frame that I typically trade, like where the true swings and everything are going to be and end up. And there's nothing. It's just swinging around, and you're just not getting anything clean. And now you're pushing up. This broke, pushes up. Um, so it's just a hard day to trade and find uh, good places to get in. Um, man, the Fed really has their foot on the gas pedal on this market. It's just screaming higher. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Basically, the last 3 weeks, 63.50, and we're almost at 7,200. So, you rallied like 850 points in 3 weeks, which is just crazy considering, what we did going back into November till now, and it just took off. So, all you can really hope for is that you get some days where there's not just a massive bars on the daily, because that typically will make your intraday do stuff like this and be hard to find trades. And again, we can come in here and we can put arrows on wherever we want, but realistically in real time, you know, we're we're trying to figure out, we could say, oh, first entry, second entry, and put something there, but you're pretty much, you could look at this as a range. And there's no chart lesson on that channel today, so you won't see anything, but you might look at this as some type of range. So I wouldn't want to be going long here when, you know, this this little thing here is pushed up 2 legs, and now, is that maybe rolling over? You just don't know. So anyway, I'll just keep following stuff and see if I can find any near-term structures that are, clear to trade, and it's not moving a whole lot, so it's not, you're not getting away from this EMA either. So the corrections are really, you have some couple of these here, but this is a big correction that it's difficult to assess because of all the swinging around in here. So, it's just a hard day. So sometimes you just want to, I sit here and I'll watch it, but sometimes you just want to decide I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to watch it and see if I can understand what these days are about, and um, so on and so forth. Anyway, I'll be back again later. All right, so we run let me zoom out a little bit here. So we actually, you can see that we end up off these 2 legs. We were actually on this push up, we run into this measured move. This trend breaks new high, and then we get this push down. At that point, I'm looking for 2 legs correction here. Um, and you just don't get that very good correction on the second leg. It runs up, zoom back in here. Just can't even make a new high for this leg. A ugly green bar is your signal bar, and then you get a red bar here. Now it's pushing down. So um, I'm thinking this is probably just temporary. This will play out, I think, and then it may not even play out. Maybe just hovers here and bounces up. So waiting for this to play out, and then hopefully we get something else back up to the upside once this downward pressure is played out off this measured measured move. So yeah, I was hoping for something there. Even though it didn't set up, you can see it's much better in being able to assess this than all this swings back and forth with these bull moves. I honestly wish, I know it can happen and affect people's investments and stuff, but I kind of wish the market would go down every day, because you just get much better price action with bearish moves than you do with bullish moves most of the time. Um, we're going a range or something where I can find the highs and lows to trade off of. But anyway, just a side note. So yeah, push down, looking for this to play out. Who knows? Maybe you even get the second leg down or something like that. But then I'd be looking for, and maybe it finds, maybe this push down finds support somewhere in this rangy stuff. But yeah, that's too bad that didn't you know, make a new high and give us a good signal to get in because that clearly, that would have worked well. But yep, so just waiting for a price reset and we'll see if we can find something else. All right, so off of this push down, we get another leg down and then this tries to push up here, rejects off the EMA. And so you just have a bunch of strange looking legs down. Here's two legs up, but because I'm not really sure what's going on here, this is kind of looks weird, and I'm little um, a little apprehensive about drawing wider channels and thinking I'm finding stuff off them. Maybe you draw something like that, you put it down here, and you think you have a channel. So there's two legs up here to the EMA, but I didn't take this. I mean, this close is actually lower than here, so I know to the wick it is, but you could even maybe look at this as a count reset. So it's just very strange looking. Um, so I'm not quite sure what's going on with this movement to the downside. If we keep like just pushing down here and keep going, then maybe I'll think about shorts again. But I'm just concerned this being super bullish all day today, that this is just a matter of time till this plays out and then starts heading higher. This could just be, how much we've moved up here, like 100 points. This could just be um, bigger firms like taking their profits for all this move up, especially once you hit this measured move. Um, I believe the algorithms use those as targets, and then they, begin unloading positions, whether it's super huge or whether it's small. When I'm taking targets to get to and sort of thing. So I'm just not doing anything right now until I see prices um, start to give me some other kind of clean structure. So this is all, kind of played out. I'd really need to see this just start pumping down, excuse me, pumping down again to be happy looking for shorts. Um, Otherwise, I'm just sitting still until it gives us something else that we can work with. I apologize. I'm trying to remember to zoom in. Um, talk about this stuff for people watching on smaller devices. I usually keep my screen somewhat zoomed out so I continue to be aware of what context I'm in. Um, but anyway, we just had a couple legs down here, and it just I just don't like drawing wider channels and stuff. So yeah, these look like two legs, good setup. It doesn't go very far before it. If this was a valid channel, I would expect this to just continue pushing down here off this move, just keep going down to play this channel, if that is such a thing. To me, it just looks like a bunch of legs down, a bunch of swings. So just a little, apprehensive about taking that sort of thing. All right, so um, after we got this pushed down, we started chugging sideways here, and once we pushed up to there, um, then I put this on here. I was like, that might be something there. Let's keep watching it, but it fails immediately here, so I'm taking this off. I don't think that's really anything now that it hasn't. You'd want to see that maintain and keep going higher, but now that it hasn't, again, prices just seem like they're kind of in limbo here. Maybe you have in some weird way you've got like a couple legs up here. Maybe you got maybe like this is a leg. That's a leg. I don't, it's hard to read through all this. Maybe we're heading back down here. So yeah, again, just got to watch the price action for finding structures. All right, clearly we got this trend working down here. Hopefully when this gets a correction, it comes in the form of two clean legs and not some jumbled mess that it's very difficult to read. So that's what I'm watching right now. All right, unfortunately, no help on this break. It just pushes down to a new low off the first attempt. So just have to wait for um, another structure or something. Maybe this pushes down here and we get a nice higher low with room back to the EMA using this area here as like a level where prices may have some buying come in because they did last time. So we'll watch that. Unfortunately, we don't doesn't push down here very far before it does bounce off this level, off this new low. And even if we'd have got a higher low here, probably would have been too close for my liking to the EMA. But maybe now, if we look at this from a bigger standpoint, maybe if you look at this as like this whole move down, even though it's really ugly, maybe you look at this as an entire move down, break, push to new low, and maybe we're going to bounce off this level now. So if this, you get some nice strong bars up here, pushing up, and then you get a good correction, I'd be okay with a long now. With this big trend, technically, played out. I mean, you wicked lower here, but you have retested it, and this more near-term trend has broken and made a new low. So we'll just see what happens now. All right, so get this push up. You get really thin 2 legs down here. This bar is not good, but that's where the correction ends, and then we're pushing up. Um, I thought about after this bar pushed up trying to enter on a limit right here, but I didn't. Um, I just wasn't sure if this was, going to be a true 2 legs or not. So usually I like to see something a little bit better defined. I think if this bar had finished green, I think I'd have liked entering there. Yeah, I know that, the fact that it starts pushing up there maybe kind of lends to the idea that it's going to keep going up, but it's pretty thin. Um, so I like to kind of protect my capital. So I really want to be sure about something before I enter. Kind of like that one yesterday. I kind of want to enter that one yesterday at the end of the day. It's kind of same kind of deal where it was really kind of a 4 2 legs, although you could see it. Um, but I just didn't enter. So we'll see what happens here. As this pushes up, probably going to get a second leg. And then I don't know, maybe this whole area here might end up being some sort of range then we spend the rest of the day in. You never know. Or, the whole downward move could be over and prices could resume their bullish momentum. So, but usually bigger trends don't form off sharp legs like that. So we'll just have to wait and see. All right, so I'm pushed up here, pushed back down. Um, Not really much, I mean, much to say here. We're just kind of, there's downward pressure here against this level. I can see prices keep trying to test this level right here. Um, I would say this one here is probably, an aggressive trade if you want to. You've got room to the EMA. Um, it's one of those. It's almost a hammer bar that closes on its high. Those are probably the best ones to try aggressive trades on when you've hit an extreme. Of course, most of the time I'm going to wait on a higher low, but here a higher low is almost out of the question, being that you're already like 3 points away, 3 to 4 points away from the EMA. So and now we're kind of rejecting the EMA. I drew this downtrend. Often these wider downtrends and end up not being anything, so prices may push up out of here. Um, but yeah, there's not a whole lot to say here. It's just been ever since we pushed down off the highs of the day, it's just been kind of swinging around. You had your downtrend break, new low. I probably wouldn't take that thing. Um, that's a little aggressive there. It's a little more than I like, I think. You can see how far this actually pushed down before it sprung out of there. So yeah, I don't like that one. This one I like better, just because now you've broken out of the overnight, or not overnight, of this level. And there's a couple legs down here. From here, one, it's not measured, but two. Um, you never know when you get these downtrends. Sometimes they push down for another low, or maybe it's just going to try to push past this. So there hasn't been a whole lot. I mean, I think I pretty much said that at the beginning of the day. It would probably be difficult to trade today with the bigger price structure. It got better once we hit this measured move, and there's almost a trade there. Other than that, I don't see a whole lot. I mean, I didn't like that one. That's two legs there, but I didn't like that, just because this is not very clear what's going on here. So yeah, and I don't like shorting here. You're shorting into this support area. Prices may push through there and it may give up, but you don't want to short into this area where prices keep bouncing. But other than that, yeah, there's not a whole lot going on right now. Being it's Friday and 40 minutes to go till the close, you might not get anything the rest of the day. Okay, so not much has been going on. I was following this move up here with a trend channel like this. But once we rejected in almost the exact same spot we did the last two times, then I thought, well, maybe this is actually just two legs up into this high. And so trying to get a retest is not a great idea in the context of a range, especially when you can clearly see, except for this little pop out here, we've pretty much been going sideways, um, since one something. So, um, if the any other uh, trade ideas that I have is maybe pop up here, retest this again. Maybe this little thing does retest, though I'm not comfortable trying it in the light of this range, because you never know when this range is just going to take precedent and your little trend here doesn't retest. Looks like you kind of triple tested this area, but I'm still not comfortable taking anything in this chop here. So the only other thing might be is if you got something very clean down to the lows here, and then you got like a higher low off it. But we're down to like less than 10 minutes to the market close, so unlikely anything will happen. Okay, everybody, just gonna wrap it up for the week. Fortunately, as good as last week was for me, this week got shut out. Didn't get to take anything. There's a few aggressive ones along the way, but nothing that really cared for. Got a couple areas where in different days where the charts just didn't print favorably for me. Some areas I was just a little bit hesitant and waiting for something else to happen. So, you know what? There's next week to come. So I'll see you then.